TV fans. I don't even think The Blaze has this. So I just want to let you know we have an exclusive trailer coming up for you. It's a new film coming out on June 28th. It's called The Other Side of Heaven 2, Fire and Faith. It's about a missionary family. The first film actually was about a missionary couple, who went to an island to minister to people. And in this film, they're going back to the island. They're getting ministered to, and they're going to face a lot of challenges, personal challenges, heart-wrenching challenges in their faith, and we all can relate to that. So I want you to kind of, explore this film. Take some time, watch the trailer, because this was a film that kind of broke the mold as far as in the Christian genre. It didn't do well at the box office about 2 decades ago, but it broke records as far as the DVD sales. So Anne Hathaway was in the original film. She won't be in this one, but it's still going to be phenomenal. So check it out, and check out Mom on the Right on Saturday. Ciao, guys.
Do you have any idea how many miles that light has traveled to shine down on you?
On us.
I'll see your smile.
Oh, I got a letter from Salt Lake today. What's wrong?
How soon can you have that baby? Elder Monson, we believe the Lord sent us here for a reason. He will see us through.
Welcome back, Kulipoki.
It's been a long time.
I will build your chapels, Kulipoki, and you will fill them.
I'm having a baby.
Holy cow! Get out of the way! Move it, girl. That's it. That's it.
You will be serving in Nyotobutama. That is my island. Give them all my love.
Thank you for sending us there.
You should never ask a Tongan mother to choose between her husband and her son.
There will be challenges, but the Lord will take care of you.
I want to be baptized now.
You stole my son, and he is dead to me.
Don't break character.
We will pray that he gains the strength.
Thank you for your faith, and thank you for sharing it with me.
Television is not the truth. Television is a goddamn amusement park. Television is a circus, a carnival, a traveling troupe of acrobats, storytellers, dancers, singers, jugglers, sideshow freaks, lion tamers, and football players. We're in the boredom-killing business. So turn off your television sets. Turn them off now. Turn them off right now. Turn them off and leave them off. Turn them off right in the middle of the sentence I'm speaking to you now. Turn them off.
Stop them. An idea whose time has come cannot be stopped by any army.
Welcome to another episode of Eradicating Programmed Ignorance, the Town Crier. I'm your host, Roger Landry, the founder of the Liberty Beacon Project, and it is always my privilege to bring you any information I feel will help you be a little bit more aware of what's going on around you. We constantly talk about America being probably the most ignorant or disconnected society when it comes to its own governance in modern history. And we have seen this cycle. We have seen it several times before. We have seen it in republics, and Rome, of course, pops into everybody's mind. Greece. I mean, let's stop and consider that this is not the first time that a government of this type, maybe not exactly, because this is a constitutional Okay, government, which means it's basically guided by, in a very strong hand, a set of rules, a set of guidelines. Okay, fine. We're looking at a situation today where the American people have been so propagandized that they believe things they wouldn't have believed 2 or 3 short generations ago. You all hear me talk about perspective, and I talk about perspective because this is exactly what I'm saying. What I remember when I was a kid in the late 50s and early 1960s, most today weren't born, and they don't remember, and they don't understand. So they don't have that perspective. When children come home today with homework that states that their rights are privileges granted by a benevolent government, are you freaking kidding me? Not once in that child's homework was the word inalienable ever mentioned, or granted by your creator ever mentioned. So between the schools and another huge component, we have today what is easily the most disconnected society on the planet when it comes to their own governments. We have literally decided that our leaders can be trusted and we do not hold them accountable. Do you believe what I just said? Because if you don't, I want everybody out there who has talked to, sent a letter to, sent an email to, tweeted, or whatever, their congressman or their senator at least once in the last 6 months. Yet we have a country that's going through literally hell. By listening to a show like this, does that absolve you from doing anything? Well, I listen to the show. I'm doing something. Bullshit. You're not. You're more aware than the guy sitting next to you. But what are you doing to facilitate a solution to the problem? Nothing. But it's really not your fault. And I never say things I don't mean. It's not. You have been propagandized, even you who consider yourselves awake, to understand that you're fighting a machine so damn big that you're never going to win. And with that, you don't put forth some of the efforts you may endeavor to put forth if you thought you had a snowball's chance in hell. The truth be told, it would take less than 20% of this country saying enough is enough. A nation rose up and fought against the most powerful nation on the planet and won with 17% of their population. The United States. Well, it wasn't at the time. Stop and consider. But let's talk about how we got to this state of ignorance. And what's the mission statement of the Liberty Beacon Project? It is the eradication of programmed ignorance. What's the name of this show? Eradicating programmed ignorance. Why do we call it a town crier? Because in the olden days, that was the gentleman who stood in the town square with the bell ringing it. Hear ye, and giving you the headlines. Are we saying we wish to fill that role? Yes. Are we attempting to do it with all of the bravado and the ability for you to believe in us? Yes. We never, ever challenge you to prove us wrong. We dare you to prove us wrong. So let's get into this. The American mediocrity when lies become truth. I just spoke to you and said, how did we get here? How did we become the most disconnected society? How did we become a society whereby we feel we can just sit back and let our leaders do everything they want to do because, by golly, they'd never do anything that wasn't in our favor, and they'd never do anything that was focused on their greed or in their favor, right? Okay, maybe you're starting to see where we're going with this. This is one of the most serious topics facing us today. As we watch our freedoms and liberties literally being destroyed. This is not a guess, this is a fact, and I have done shows where I have gone down the list to show you rights that don't exist, that did when I was a kid. So don't tell me it's not happening, because you don't have that 3-generation plus perspective. Okay. So our liberties and our rights are basically being destroyed intentionally and assisted by the very media we depend on to keep us informed. From, I don't know, information to propaganda. The truth be told, not. I have written several articles on this topic over the past couple of years, and some of the thoughts and content I pulled together for a commentary such as this. You see, this is an issue of grave importance, okay, that will be critical in determining the future of America on so many levels. Let's start the ball rolling with a quote. We'll know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false, said by CIA Director William Casey at an early February 1981 meeting of the newly elected President Reagan's cabinet. I'm going to read that again. We'll know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false. How much do you think, even at that time, the CIA and the NSA and other portions of this government that is supposed to represent you and I, how much money they were investing in the propaganda of Hollywood? How much they were buying in, how much the message was being shaped, how much the message was being molded, and the new patsies they were basically making. Okay, so what do you think the tool or mechanism of achieving what Mr. Casey stated as a goal would be, if not the mainstream media? Let me state this is not about any specific politician or political party. This is about those we depend on to keep us informed, so we may make the hard decisions needed to steer this massive ship called America through the troubled waters we as a supposedly free society must navigate today. Just listen to that for a second, okay? We the people, we are supposed to be the sovereigns. We are supposed to be the people who steer this ship. And yet you heard me in my opening comments discuss how we had literally given up our, I don't know, sovereignty. We had literally put unlimited faith in those we elected without holding their feet to the fire because we trusted them that much. And thus went Rome, and thus went Greece, and I could go on. Okay. Today, Americans are still sifting through and suffering the massive negative scripted media outpouring concern, our president, an ineffective Congress, and most of all, those damn Russians. And with the Mueller report in, this is cover your ass time for most media corporations, and we're talking the big ones, who have been caught in so many lies, it makes your head spin. Thus, we also suffer a time when the voices of the mainstream media are the most distrusted and increasingly ignored in American history. They're crashing and burning. This is the fourth branch. Their task in our minds and in the minds of too many remaining today, and this is where that programmed ignorance comes in, If our government would ever do anything tyrannical against us, we would know it because they would tell us on TV. Wake the hell up! Because today nothing could be further from the truth. Nothing. Because the saddest part of this scenario is that this media is all owned by the very oligarchs that pick our leaders. And if you remember the show last week, I gave you some real hard proof on that, including Princeton stating the United States is no longer ruled in a democratic fashion, but is in fact a corporate oligarchy. You think I'm kidding? I dare you to Google that or Bing it. This is Princeton saying this. All right, let me start that again. The saddest part of this scenario is that this media is all owned by the very oligarchs that pick our leaders. Now you understand why I gave you that sentence. What the hell happened to antitrust laws? That was all the rage when I was a kid. A company got too powerful, octopus arms going out in too many directions. The government came in and chopped them off and said, you can't do that. You have overreached your power. Whatever happened to that? The concept of the fourth branch. A media that keeps we the people informed so we can steer our leadership away from tyranny and keep them on track of truly serving the people is now a joke. A serious misconception that is aiding and abetting the fall of the American Republic as sure as I'm freaking breathing right now. It is impossible to subjugate a truly informed society. But if you look around you, I started off by telling you not only have we lost a crap load of rights and freedoms, we have, and I can prove that, but everything that's left, your children are being taught. Those are gifts from a benevolent government, which tells your children have fear, because if you step out of line, they can take them away. And nothing can be further from the truth. Who's supporting the crap out of this? Gee, that wouldn't be the mainstream media, would it? Okay. We all know that the MSM, the mainstream media, ceased being investigative reporting quite some time ago. It is heavily scripted now and in a very effective fashion. We are now exposed to only what those who would rule us wish us to see. But something like this is hard to demonstrate, or so you think. In the article that I'm basing this show on and using as the structure so that this isn't 5 hours long, what you will see is a video. It's a prime example of the mass scripting. When a majority of news outlets across this country are parroting the same message, the same verbiage, almost to the exact same words. Kind of funny when you hear somebody doing it in Bangor, Maine, and you hear the same day somebody doing it exactly word for word in San Diego, California. And not even on the same network. You begin to understand that if we are to be programmed, well, as the saying goes, a lie too often told becomes the truth, especially if delivered by the mechanism most mistakenly have come to rely on for their version of the truth or reality. It's like believing that vaccines can't hurt you, that the drugs you're taking can't hurt you, that things you're doing can't hurt you. Why? Because your doctor told you so. And you have been raised to believe your doctor is infallible, except he's not. Some of them didn't do very well in school, passed by the hair on their chins. How much training do they have in vaccines? Probably about a half a day in 8 years of medical school, but they're going to tell you what's good for your children and what isn't. stop and consider all of the possible scenarios I can throw in here. Okay? All of them. All right. This is, it's not about the topics presented in the video you will see when you go to that article, as much as it is about the choreographed mechanism of delivery utilized by the MSM. It's both funny and sad, because what you have is somebody, and again, I can't prove this, but I can give you about a 95% probability, either in the NSA, the CIA, whatever, handing a very high level individual in one of the major networks a script that they want read word for word on the news tonight. And if you think I'm joking, you really need to watch that video, because it will make you laugh and it will make you sad. But let's continue our discussion of the MSM, because if you control or own the media, you control how a population thinks and reacts to everything from entertainment to politics, religion, social welfare, and right on through to warfare. It's within one's power to shape or reshape the moral and ethical standards of an entire society over time. Not a guess, a proven fact. Understand that this elite caste thinks in decades or generations, not days, weeks, months, or years. Some of them have been doing this stuff for centuries. Not joking. Using this one tool can effectively shape and mold public opinion to suit one's needs or justifies one's actions, and in doing so render the perpetrated tyrannies much more successful. You own the mainstream media. You determine what tyranny is or not. Not only in the news you state, but in the minds you state it to. Let's take a closer look at the choreographed morphing of a society via the powerful and influence that we see running amok in mainstream media, and understand that without this massively influential mechanism, the drastic changes we who have walked this earth for at least a half a century have seen would never have taken place, or if they had, it would have been to a much less catastrophic degree if we had possessed a truly free and uncorrupted system of media. There's another video inserted right here, and it's called Mainstream Media Corruption. Question everything. Please watch it. Please watch it. It used to be that if a president or his cabinet made a huge oops or generated a scandal, it was a national news item, with something as trivial by today's standards as Oval Office sex threatening to bring an administration to the ground. But now, regardless of the political or ethical transgressions or the tyranny, if it falls within the elitist agenda or benefits it, then it is hidden, covered up, or justified in some perverse fashion as being for our protection, beneficial in, I don't know, the scheme of things, or just flat out ignored like it had never happened. And this is just one example. To discuss all would require volumes the size and scope of an encyclopedia set. So, have any Americans become increasingly ignorant or chronically apathetic? Well, if you don't believe they have, then you haven't listened to anything we've said, and you fall right within that category. One might suspect that both have happened, that Americans have become both increasingly ignorant and chronically apathetic. All right? But I also told you this is by design. The ability of the mainstream media to play segments of we the people against each other for their puppet masters' gains and our losses is powerful beyond compare and demonstrated daily. Only one, I don't know. Well, let's look at it this way, okay? One just needs to look at gun control issues. Stop and think about that. Keep the sheep entertained with mindless and meaningless dribble, or divided and bickering among themselves, and you can perpetrate and perpetuate your agenda almost undetected on the herd. Yes, I said the herd, as in sheep or cattle. Today, over 90% of the media we depend on for our political, economic, and social well-being is owned or outright controlled by just a handful of oligarchs who do not have the best interest of a free society as their goal. They don't. And if you were in their shoes, you'd understand why they don't have the interest of a free society as their goal. Their goal is control. Control of who? Control of you. Here's another video I want you all to see, okay? Okay, just who these few corporate entities are. See who they are. And that via that mechanism of absolute control, perpetuate the programmed ignorance we so desperately need to eradicate. We the people have never been a society truly involved in the functioning of our government, not in modern history. But the detachment seen by a sizable number of the population today is chronic, bordering on and possibly fatal, and again, accomplished via intentional programming. I'm not sitting here calling any one of my fellow Americans a traitor, because if you intentionally turned your back on the treason, literally treason, going on in this country today, doing nothing but realizing it was being committed, that in fact is aiding and abetting the enemies of the state, which in my eyes and in the eyes of the Constitution can probably be construed as treasonous. This entire process is being called the dumbing down of America, and you hear it talked about all the time. And thanks in a large part to the complicity of the MSM, it has worked pretty damn well. So, mission pretty much accomplished by one of the most effective mechanisms ever developed by mankind to control man's mind: mass media. Every tyrannical government in modern times, excuse me, has used this mechanism in a diabolical fashion to gain control in the pursuit of the total subjugation of its people, and done so in a hugely successful fashion. We, the people, have no special immunity, regardless of what you think, to what today may just be freedom's worst enemy. Did you hear what I just said? What may just be freedom's worst enemy: controlled mass media. So we have gone from the time I was a young child, or let's say post-World War II, to today. We have seen the control of the mass media. We have seen it. So now, when I say this could very well be, okay, freedom's worst enemy, we're talking about a mechanism which had our total trust and our total control. As I spoke, just like you trust your doctor. We don't even think about it. If it's in the newspaper, it's got to be true. They had to have done their homework. And we have seen over and over and over again that when we bet on this, we lose far too many times. So what can we do? Actually, as a society that thrives on unlimited entertainment and immediate self-gratification, we may be the most susceptible in history to everything I've just described. And those who would rule over us have choreographed all of this almost to the point of perfection. Please don't challenge me on this. You will not win. You can't win. It's way too easily proven. So again, what do? Actively fight any restrictions placed on the internet, the only venue left to us for any semblance of truth or reality in media. The Liberty Beacon, eradicating programmed ignorance. How many times will you hear a mainstream media reporter or see them look right into your eyes and say, I don't challenge you to prove me wrong, I dare you to. And the day you see it, please show it to me, and I will kiss your bare butt on Broadway at high noon and let you sell tickets to the event. Because today, we are left with only two choices. One being to wake up and speak out, and the other to fade passively further into subjugation. Okay. That's the end of. And obviously, that wasn't word for word. I love to put a lot of things in. When you're writing something, you are concerned with flow of an article. You are constrained with basically how big it needs to be to tell a story. But when you use it as a guideline, like I do, to do these rants, it allows you, it jogs your memory as to what drove you to write an article like this in the first place. One of the biggest things you need to understand, one of the most striking things that I said in all of this is this. Yep, got to clear my throat for this, all right? We are talking about organizations. We are talking about an idea, a concept, the fourth branch. The fourth branch meaning, other than the three branches of government, it was the fourth branch. And what was its job? Its job was to keep us informed on what was actually happening within the other three so that we could perform our duties as the true sovereigns and keep those other three in check. Did anybody tell us that it wasn't the presidency, it wasn't the Congress, and it wasn't the Supreme Court we had to worry about as far as corruption and complicity and treasonous actions against we the people? It was the damn fourth branch! And far too many still have far too much faith in the mainstream media. We'll be talking more about that in the future. I thank you very, very much for your time, and I appreciate the fact that you allow me to tell my stories in this fashion. Believe me, it's not being creative. What it allows me to do is truly put my thoughts out, something that's hard for even the best of the writers. Have a great day. Again, Roger Landry, founder of the Liberty Beacon Project, and very, very proud to be able to present you this show. Before I go, I would like to mention some people. I would like to mention Rebecca Mahan and Luca Masno, who are just working their fingers to the bone to build TLBTV into one of the best global independent media facilities on the planet. And I couldn't be prouder. Have a great day. Talk to you again soon.